Okay, welcome to anyone here now, those of you joining in, and those of you watching at a later date. Welcome here to this space, to this free space for live coaching, for the possibility of stepping into a slower way to be in relationship to yourself, taking time to breathe and let there be some spaciousness. If there's anything that feels heavy right now for you, anything that feels like static or excess, like a burden, I invite you to just take a few deep cleansing breaths with intention to clear that out with each exhale, and then receive with your inhale something a little bit lighter, something a little bit more spacious, more easy. And as you take these breaths with intention, know that everything in your life, when done with intention, creates a ripple effect, bringing back like intention. So, what I want to speak to today, first, I want to introduce you to, I'm calling this How to Feel Better Now, the gentle power of downstream thinking. And when I say downstream thinking, anyone who's familiar with Esther Hicks and any of her teachings, this might sound familiar to you because she speaks to this. And this is the teaching I want to share today. I'm reading her new book, her latest book, and it really is so profoundly simple and beautiful that I wanted to bring it forward here in this container. So, um, just a little context, if those of you who already might be familiar with Esther Hicks and those who are not, she is a woman who for many years, probably decades now, has received inspired wisdom that she calls Abraham. She's channeling information from multiple entities that work together, and she calls them, or they call themselves Abraham. I'm not sure if she like defined that moniker or whether they gave her that information. It doesn't matter. But you could think of this Abraham as a collective voice of higher consciousness, a frequency. It's more like a frequency, right? Because our thoughts and our words all carry a frequency. But Abraham's collective consciousness is a frequency of pure love and expanded awareness that speaks through Esther. Whether or not you believe in channeling isn't really important, because what matters most is the wisdom itself, the consciousness, the love that actually resonates when you hear it. I invite you to be open to the messages and see how it resonates. See if it resonates and lands in you as something that's aligned. It's very practical and profoundly like gentle, kind teachings. The teachings remind us that actually we create our own experience and that our emotions are guiding us, guiding everything, designed to show us whether we're aligned with the flow of life. She calls it the vortex, or if we're resisting it. You can only be in two states of being in any now moment. And just a reminder that we only ever have now, because time is relative. So in every now moment, are we resisting what is? That's one state of being. And the other is flowing with it. That's it. It's either love or fear. Resistance, well, love would be aligned with alignment and flowing, and resistance would be aligned with fear. Fear-based thoughts, fear-based beliefs, like limiting beliefs that live in our subconscious that we aren't even aware of. So if you're here and you've heard me before, I speak to our subconscious limiting beliefs that are sending out a signal, whether we're aware of it or not. What is that signal? When we bring awareness to the signal, that old limiting belief that keeps playing out in all the patterns of our lives, when we stop and say, wait, if I don't like it out here, what do I get to tend to here that will bring me back in alignment with the love that I am? My true nature is love and abundance. And Abraham speaks to this. One of the metaphor Abraham uses is this idea of upstream and downstream thoughts. So I want you to, if you can, and you're in a safe space, close your eyes. Hopefully you've been doing some breathing to kind of release the shit and bring in things that are more aligned with harmony and ease and simplicity. But imagine you're floating down in a river, floating in a river. Whatever, if you're on a boat or a raft, whatever floats your boat, go ahead and go there in your imagination. Use your imagination. This is a side note. Our imaginations have been given to us to use to create, to create from the best life of our dreams. How are we using our imagination? Are we conjuring up the worst case scenarios with that imagination that's been given as a gift? Are we using it in the alignment of fear? Or are we creating from the belief that our imagination can come up with beautiful things, and then we offer those things up almost like rockets of desire, and they go out and they talk about this in the book. These rockets of desire that go out and are always sending signals out so it can bring back the circumstances and the life experiences for us to align closer to who we truly be. So if we feel triggered by something, great. It's showing us where we're still not free. So imagine you're floating in a river and the current, right, is carrying you toward everything you've ever asked for, your desires, your healing, your peace. But when you start to paddle upstream, over efforting, overthinking, trying to control everything, you are, or even doubting, right? It's exhausting. How does that feel in your body when you've been living in a boat that you're trying to swim upstream or paddle upstream? I know I have lived, if I'm really honest, the majority of my life over efforting everything, overthinking, yes, so much self-doubt, and yes, trying to control people, circumstances, outcomes, thinking, believing, unwittingly, not aware that I believed that I believed I could control things so I could feel more comfortable, more in control. But I came to learn that it is depleting and exhausting to the point that I cracked open. And that's a good thing because I was tired of over efforting. I was exhausted. I felt contracted and disconnected. So imagine what it feels like in your body as you try to picture yourself in that boat, trying to get yourself upstream. How does that feel in your body? How does it feel in your thoughts? Think about it. How have you been paddling upstream? What are all the ways you may have been paddling upstream? So they talk about this idea of the upstream thoughts and the downstream thoughts. So downstream thoughts, on the other hand, are small, gentle thoughts that bring a little bit of relief. And it helps you to trust the current of this river that we're living in, this life that we have, and allowing it to carry you down the river towards everything you ever wanted. So it doesn't require dramatic change. You don't need to be this huge, like, I am going to transform my life right now, today. No, it's not that way. It does not need to be that way. And I think that's where we get stuck a lot, is believing that we should, or we have to, or we need to transform our lives right now. No, that's not. That's a lie. That is a lie. So all that is, I don't even want to say required, but or need to, or that you have to, but all that you get to do here is just show willingness. I really would like to have a little more relief, a little more ease in my life. Great. Let's bring our thoughts back to a downstream thought. It's like saying, maybe I don't have to figure it all out right now. Or maybe something good is unfolding behind the scenes and I can't see it, but I trust it. I trust the promise of a benevolent deity, all that is, source, spirit, whatever it is that you want to call it, the great mystery is always, always guiding us towards something better. Even if it feels messy and out of our control, can you let go of the oars and stop trying to over effort and go upstream and allow yourself to be in the flow of the current of your life? So, when you shift from resistance to allowing, your body softens. Like when you literally think that you're going to row upstream, doesn't that feel awful? I know when I've been in rivers, I grew up near rivers, so we did a lot of like river rafting and canoeing and things like this, which I'm so grateful for because it's one of my favorite things. It's so exciting to be in a river with like, do I dare say class 4 rapids? Maybe class 3. I don't know. It's been so long. I don't know exactly what constitutes a class 4. Is there such thing as a class 5? I don't know. Someone set me right. Carrie says, so tired. Yes. Just the thought of trying to row against what is. The current is flowing a certain direction. You can't deny that. And so are our lives, right? If we can let go of the metaphorical oars of over efforting and controlling and doubting, we get to turn downstream and let go and allow the current of our lives to take us to the very thing that we desire. So your nervous system relaxes. God, source, the universe can actually finally meet you where you are because you're no longer fighting the flow. So today I invite you to notice, where might you be paddling upstream in your life? Trying too hard, worrying is part of it. It's not just the actions or the doing, it's the actual thoughts and the doubts that keep you paddling upstream. And what would it feel like to just turn your paddle downstream, your boat, take a breath, and trust that the river is already carrying you? Because the truth is, we are never meant to struggle our way to alignment. We are meant to float into it. It's easy. So I want to speak to this, the upstream versus the downstream thoughts. So let me give you some examples of upstream thoughts, or just the idea of upstream living would be struggling, pushing, forcing, resisting what is. If there's something that you do not like in your life, I spoke to this 2 weeks ago when we met. If there's something that you don't like in your life, reorganize it and bring it back into alignment with harmony, with what is, in a peaceful way. Upstream thoughts, and I want to give more examples of what upstream thoughts would be. If you had an illness, I'm going to give an example here. If you had an illness, physical, that you were dealing with and it felt scary, maybe you got a diagnosis or a prognosis, something that's kind of, or actually really scary. An upstream thought would be, I'm so scared, I'm gonna die, I'll never get well. Why didn't I do this and this and this instead to take care of myself better? And can you see how that feels tight and contracted and fearful and doubting in your well-being, your ultimate well-being? A downstream thought is softening, allowing, trusting, letting alignment lead. Let's go back to the example of someone who's been given a diagnosis that's scary. A downstream thought would be, this feels uncomfortable because it's so unknown, but I trust that I can come back in alignment and bring my emotions and my thoughts back into a place where I trust that I am taken care of, and that day by day, thought by thought, I can come back into alignment with the harmony of my cells being my greatest master healer. My body is an instrument. All of our bodies are instruments in perfect well-being, and they get out of well-being from the conditions, the self-doubt, the beliefs that we are not enough, and all the things we come to believe when we're young. And as we start to process these and turn towards these doubts and soften them with our compassion and hold them and say, it's okay to be scared. Of course you're scared. And that's okay. That's a human thing. And can you trust that everything is a curriculum for your greater evolution and healing and growth? So, what if it was true that nothing that you want is upstream? Nothing. There's not one thing that you actually desire that lives upstream. It goes against the laws of nature to have to effort anything. And when we make tiny shifts towards feeling better and we begin to shift our thoughts to something just a little bit more relieving. So the thoughts about our health or our thoughts about our family members or the future, whatever they are, if we can catch ourselves and say, oh, is that an upstream thought? If it's restrictive, controlling, self-doubting, or resisting in any way, it's an upstream thought. So at that point, you get to say, how can I bring a little more relief to right now? And the way to do it is by having a downstream thought. Maybe this is all happening for a reason. Maybe I can trust that there's something that knows me so deeply that's allowing me to go through this so I can come home and have a deeper alliance with the aspect of me, my soul, which is never not here. So by small and steady thought choices come great. There's that saying, it's one of the scriptures, and I can't remember, maybe you can tell me. By small and simple things are great things brought to pass. Okay. And I love that idea because it's true. It's not expecting this huge overnight transformation. It's realizing by the power of our choice and every now moment, we can start to turn downstream and flow our thoughts in the way of our desires. So we don't need that radical transformation. We can inch our way back downstream by choosing lighter thoughts one moment at a time. The current of our life is already flowing in favor of your desires. I think that's the crux of it. When we start to believe and understand that there is only benevolent, loving energy wanting to guide us at all times, trying to communicate with us through our emotions. Our emotions are, it's like our rudder. Our rudder, if our response to our emotions is to resist them, we're putting our rudder and we're turning it back upstream. If we can sit with our emotions and say, I am safe to be scared, I'm safe to be angry and sad and in pain, like these are primal emotions, human emotions. When we finally slow down and be the one who stays with our emotions instead of distracting ourselves, numbing out all the ways that we will, or people pleasing or turning to perfectionism. I can over effort even more. That will get me the thing I desire. It is counterintuitive. I know this. That's why I think it's such a beautiful concept, because when we're turning our thoughts to something a little easier, something a little more simple and spacious, we're literally saying to ourselves, I trust myself to choose the flow of life that is carrying me always, always to something really beautiful. It may not be without a mess or some chaos, but that is why we're here, is to keep staying with the thing that's messy and feels chaotic and not abandon ourselves. That is the key. When we can stop doubting ourselves, stop abandoning ourselves. And when I say abandon, there's so many ways that we do it. We started doing it when we were very young, so it seems really normal to do. But when we are the one who stays with all of the heavy emotions and we say, it's okay to feel this, there's no shame in being human. I see you, I feel you. Here it comes, there it is, and there it goes. Trauma is just feelings unfelt. So when we finally allow the emotion, the energy and motion to come in and go, instead of clinging to it or resisting it, we're now in the flow. We've given some space. We're in the boat. We've let go of the oars and we're flowing. We're like, okay, it's kind of like a Jesus take the wheel moment, right? Trusting that there are forces that are in response to all of the things that you came here to learn and evolve into. They're already doing their work. We get in the way when we take the oars and think we're going to go upstream to get the thing that we think is living there, but it's not there. It's downstream. And the only way to get there is to allow it, to let go and allow everything to come in, to wash over us, to strip away what no longer serves us. So there's room for all the beauty that we're flowing into. Does this make sense? Okay. So how can we use our emotions to guide us like a compass? Well, it's easy actually if we're willing to slow down and identify what it is that we're feeling in our body. This is called embodiment. It's being here in your body in the present moment and testing. Do I feel resistance? Am I frustrated right now? Is there heaviness? If so, you're upstream. You're trying to get upstream. And then you can ask, what is the softest thought I can find for myself right now? What is the softest, most compassionate thought? And when you turn your attention towards that nicer thought, the more compassionate way to be with yourself, you literally are creating emotional relief. And when you feel like, that's a relief, that is a sign you're entering downstream territory. Okay? So even when it looks like nothing is happening, your upstream to downstream shift is aligning unseen forces. All that is, deity, the universe, is consistently responding, always responding to how you are thinking and feeling. So when you slow down the resistance, things really begin to flow. What if you took 30 days? 30 days of feeling better. Maybe use it as an exploration inward or an experiment with yourself. How can I be in relationship with my emotions so I can stay in downstream alignment or thoughts? So you can shift the momentum by every time you start to feel that contraction, that frustration. Sometimes you may live in it for hours, sometimes days, sometimes we do it for years. I lived most of my life not even knowing I was paddling upstream. I never heard of these concepts. I had no idea. But as I started to utilize them in my own life in a way that was so compassionate, I'd never given myself that compassion before. And that was where the shift changes. So all of these tools really are just ways to be in relationship with yourself in a new way. That's it. They're just giving little like resources, tools, little hacks to be able to be the one who stays with yourself, to feel the feelings so they can move through and you can keep growing and evolving instead of staying literally stuck. Rowing, what happens when you row upstream and the current's going downstream? You're staying in the same place or you're being taken down by the current because at a certain point you can't do it. It's just too overwhelming. I know that we've probably all felt this. I know I have. for years without even knowing that's how I was living because that's all I knew. I only knew that because it had been my lived experience and it's all I saw around me by most of the people in my life. That over efforting energy to get it right, to be better, to not disappoint, to be more perfect, to say yes more to everyone's needs instead of saying, wait, whoa, whoa, I just need to have a little bit of space here so I can feel, so I can think in a way that might be different, that might give me a little more ease, a little more peace. So, I'm going to tell you a story. So, there are so many ancient wisdom traditions that speak to this idea, okay? Um, Talking about this current, the flow of life, the river of life that flows through us and for us. Jesus called it trust. He talked about the lilies of the field and how they never toil or struggle. They just are because they trust in the Creator to tend to them, to take them down the current and keep them supported through all of it. Buddha called it the middle way. So does the Tao. And then the Tao also calls it Wu Wei. Abraham calls it turning downstream, but I'm going to tell you a story about Wu Wei that's really beautiful. There's a classic Taoist story attributed to Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu is, it's interesting because the Tao Te Ching is this beautiful piece of work and it's so ancient. There's a lot of um, questions about who actually wrote it and all the credit has been given to Lao Tzu, but Lao Tzu may be a compilation of multiple people's teachings. Nobody knows exactly because there's a lot of mystery shrouded in the Tao, but the teachings are still beautiful and simple. And so the story is told that and the Tao is, it's always like finding the middle way. Wu Wei is to trust in life, stay in the current. That water is often used in the Tao Te Ching as the metaphor for what always wants to flow and find the middle way. So to be like water is to be in the flow, not resisting, just flowing, flowing, flowing towards the middle way always. And to catch our thoughts, like, am I in the flow? Am I resisting here? But the story is there once was a farmer whose horse ran away. His neighbor said, "Oh, that's such bad luck." And the farmer replied, "Maybe." The next day, the horse returned, bringing with it 3 wild horses. "How wonderful," said the neighbor. "Maybe," replied the farmer. The next day, his son tried to ride one of the untamed horses and he broke his leg. The neighbor, of course, said, "Oh my gosh, that's so terrible." And the farmer said, "Maybe." And a week later, soldiers came to the village to gather young men to fight in the war. But because the son's leg was broken, they looked him over. They knew he wasn't fit to go and be in the war. "How fortunate," said the neighbor, and the farmer simply smiled. Maybe. Can you see how this teaching, the Wu Wei, is effortless action like water? The farmer is not paddling upstream with judgment, fear, or trying to control. He stays in the flow of life, trusting that what seems bad or good may reveal itself differently in time. Time is relative, right? We talk about this, and it's such a weird concept because we were born and raised to believe that we are in a linear time dimension, and we are. We use time to construct our lives around and have schedules and all of that. Yes, that's part of our lived experience, and it's meant to be that way. But time, we know now, is relative. So, what does that even mean? What are our memories? What is our future to come? Our memories are really just experiences with our thoughts and our beliefs about ourselves. what we came to believe before we knew better subconsciously, what we're living right now is a buildup of months, years, minutes of time sending out the signal of our subconscious beliefs. When we finally realize that, oh, I don't like there's a pattern that keeps playing out in my life, in relationships, to everything. Why is that? When we get curious about our suffering, because life is always mirroring back and showing us our triggers where we're still not free. If we're triggered, yes, that's awesome because it's showing us you're still not free here, honey. And this pattern is going to keep, I'm going to keep showing you your pattern in all the different ways there are to show you this, because that's what life is doing. It's always communicating with us, showing us, hello, how does that feel? How does that feel inside of you to believe that you can't do this, or to believe that they're better, or to resist what's happening right now, or to try to control all these things so I can feel a little bit safer? And that's rowing up the stream. Those are upstream actions. When we can finally let go and stop labeling and grasping and rowing against the current, like the Taoist farmer, we begin to float and life gets easier. And now we're headed downstream towards the very thing we desire that's already being prepared for us. I wonder sometimes if deity or all that is, or the energies of, I don't know, if it's kind of, it must have a sense of humor. I know that it does, because I think it understands our struggle because it's so wise. It's us. We're a part of it. We're not disconnected from it. And I think there's levity here. I think there's times when it laughs because it sees us rowing so hard and it's like, oh, child, I get it. It's hard to be human sometimes, huh? But there's so many stories, anciently and presently, that are showing us life's intelligence is always carrying us where we're meant to go. When we can believe in that, it makes it easier to let go of the oars. And life's intelligence is aligned with us. We're part of it. We're not separate from it. So it means that when we slow down and stay with our uncomfortability, we're also giving life to something new as we flow. And we're now headed where we're meant to go, because we're now in alignment and trusting that we can choose the downstream rather than the upstream. It's the little changes in our thoughts. So when you notice that things feel heavy, can you say, wait, what would be a lighter thought? Just a little bit lighter, maybe a little more compassionate. What's a downstream thought I can have right now? And then think of it, because you have a lovely imagination that you get to use now, and say, how can I use my imagination to help me rather than hurt me? Rather than conjuring up all the worst, what if this happens? Well, that happened then, so it's got to happen now. No, that's what life is showing you. See how that feels? It's not comfortable. Do you want to carry that uncomfortability all the way through the rest of your life? The choice is yours. So when we can stop the sacred pause and say, wait a minute, what would feel a little bit lighter? What would bring just a little bit more relief to my very tired, exhausted, depleted self? And take those thoughts and think them, and then sit there and feel, that does bring a little more relief. There's a little bit of space there. Maybe I can trust, not just the universe, I can trust myself to keep choosing lighter downstream thoughts. And all you have to do, all you get to do, is keep doing that. And because our brains are so malleable, neuroplasticity is so lovely, because it means every time you have a lighter thought, you literally are guiding yourself back downstream into ease and simplicity and abundance. You're heading towards your true nature, which is not suffering. It's not rowing up. It's not resisting. It's literally being in the flow like water, finding the middle way with lighter thoughts, one thought at a time. That's all it is. It's not that hard. So when we talk about the work, it doesn't have to be hard. It will be hard if you believe it has to be. What we tell ourselves becomes our truth. If I'm like, oh, this is going to take years, I promise you it will take years. If you're like, you know what? I can change my whole thought patterns in less than 30 days. I could do it right now, but I'm not going to try to make myself do that because it's taken a lot of momentum of uphill or upstream thinking and believing. It's going to take a little bit to kind of get the flow headed a different direction. But I trust myself. I can do that. I got me. I'm safe to choose in every now moment a lighter thought, a downstream thought. So here are some questions. What is one area in your life where you feel you're paddling upstream? Where are you pushing too hard or resisting? If you can put it in the chat, great. I'd love to connect in this way and see where everyone is at, see what's moving through you. So when that moment comes up where you notice, oh, I notice where I am pushing too hard or I'm resisting, Carrie says in romantic relationship. Okay, so in this moment of awareness that you are kind of doing some upstream paddling, what is the softest thought that you could allow for yourself right now, Carrie? Just something a little bit lighter than where you are right now. Thank you, Brooke. I love this concept and I needed to hear this today. I'll have to ponder on what my thing is. And Carrie's thinking, what is a softer thought? Something a little bit softer that you could allow in and just make things a little bit lighter than where you are right now. What is one small shift in thought or perspective that gives me a little more like a sliver of relief? That's all we're looking for. It doesn't need to be huge. It's just a sliver of relief. Because every time you do it, you're creating the new neural pathway where you stop resisting and you start, your default is downstream now. It doesn't take long. It does not take long for you to consistently think, whoa, 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 that's a hard thought. How can I make it softer? I know I can. I've got a great imagination. I know I can make this a little bit easier and feel a little bit of, it feels good. That feels good. I'm on the road towards downstream now. And your thoughts will create a new neural pathway, almost like right now there's been some storms and this weekend there's supposed to be more and there's snow on the top of the mountains here in Utah and it's so beautiful against the fall colors especially. But think of your new lighter downstream thoughts like a layer of snow. It's covering up the old path of resistance and control and upstream thoughts. It does a little dusting, and suddenly you're like, wait, where were those old thoughts patterns again? Oh, I get to create my new pathway, and I'm going to choose, because I trust myself to choose, a lighter thought every time. Pretty soon, you have a new pathway that is your default, and you don't have to catch yourself anymore. There's no work in it. You're just in the flow. And it comes so quick, you're like, oh, I think I can make them do this, or if I said this, maybe they'd like me more. All the things that we're doing that are upstream thoughts, and you bring it right back and you're in the flow again. And you're like, I know how that feels to be in the flow because I'm doing it more and more, and it feels really freaking awesome. Okay, I don't need to know the outcome right now, is what Carrie landed on. I get to relax right now. I'm safe and held right now. I'm always so loved and accepted. I'm learning and growing in and through this experience. I added through. Yes. So, Carrie and anyone listening to what Carrie wrote, how does that feel in your body when you allow yourself to to lean into the energy of these thoughts, these feelings. How does that make you feel when you say and think, I'm safe and I'm held? I'm right here. I hold myself and I know that I am being held by all that is. It's never not with me. I'm never disconnected from it, ever. It's impossible. We are all one. We are all part of the nature of God. It doesn't live outside of us. It's in us, through us. We're connected to it always. This only feels scary because it's different. I feel you. Wow, that is so true. It does feel scary because it's a new way maybe to think and feel and be. It's a different way to be in relationship with you and with God. But you also wrote here, softer. It's scary, but it is softer. So it is working. There is something that's shifting and moving when you trust that you can bring yourself to a softer state of thinking and feeling. This is your one instrument. This was given to you to use as a tuning fork. When heavy vibrations, emotions come in, our tuning fork starts to be like, ah, it's like, we've all felt it, right? The vibration is low and dense, and our bodies being dense energy, dense form, feels it as heaviness. So yes, it's uncomfortable. And Carrie says it's an invitation. Yes, I love this, to accepting myself in deeper ways. So yes, so when that feeling, that those emotions, those doubts come in, they resonate heavily. And this is the invitation. Our emotions are saying, will you stay? Will you stay and trust yourself that you can soften around this? Even if you imagine yourself, I used to do this a lot. One of my teachers taught me this. If you can think of yourself sitting in this bubble, it's like a round bubble, and it can be opaque where you can't see through, or it can be, see through, and all the different variations of opacity, of being able to be permeable or impermeable. I call this our noble threshold. It's a boundary. And we live in our own energetic space all the time. What are we allowing in? What are we not allowing in? What are we pushing out? What are we resisting? And what are we allowing to come in so it can inform us? How aware of you are you? How aware are you of your noble threshold? Our noble threshold is not to keep things out. It's actually to preserve our precious energy. Our energy is our currency, like money. Think of it like that. Are we leaking? Is our container our vessel? This is it. This is our vessel. Here we are. We have an energetic, etheric body that goes beyond our physical body. And they can record it and see our auras, how far out they go, how when we're thinking and believing negative thoughts, that light contracts and it changes. And how when we're giving more spaciousness and compassion to ourselves and others, it expands. Very interesting. What is your noble threshold? What thoughts are you allowing into your space? Does it make you contract? Does it keep you the same, or does it help you expand and grow? Look at your vessel. Think about it. How many holes are in it? Are you leaking energy? Can you think of ways that you might be leaking energy? There's so many. We leak energy when we give our power away, believing that someone else knows better what's for us than what we feel to be true. We give and leak energy to people who want to fight or want us to stay in a pattern of people pleasing and saying yes when actually we mean no. Our yes means no. And we finally turn towards the no and we're like, actually, I'm not available for that right now, whether we say it or not. And sometimes we get to say it. So we start to open up this chakra and we start to be empowered by the power of love to speak our truth. How are we leaking our energy? Can you imagine if we knew that our vessel was completely enclosed and that now we're standing in our power, not leaking it out anymore by our thoughts or our feelings or our actions. And now we're building and expanding and growing our energy because we choose to do that. That's what choosing your thoughts looks like and feels like. It starts to build something so powerful that it doesn't matter what's going on outside of your noble threshold because you know you're safe here. You're not available for anything trying to come at you, getting you to think those old thoughts again and go back upstream. How often are you aware of your energy leaking? I love the metaphors of the noble threshold, the vessel, the container that you are, and the fact that we leak energy wittingly and unwittingly, knowingly and unknowingly. How often are we checking in and being like, oh, I just leaked a lot of energy by thinking that, going down the rabbit hole of fear, thinking the worst case scenario with my beautiful imagination that was given to me to grow and expand into a greater, actually coming closer to the frequency of our wholeness is when we're living in alignment. The downstream way seems counterintuitive. It seems like it's taking us further from the things that we want. If we could only just trust that our wholeness, our highest self, the frequency of love that we are, is downstream. It's not upstream. We have been trained as humans to believe that we must effort everything in life to get the good stuff. It's just the opposite. That's the secret. It really is counterintuitive. Everything we've been taught about that, about over efforting and achievement and success and goal setting and all of that, is literally counterintuitive to what we came here to experience. We came here to finally experience what it's like to allow ourselves to flow back into the frequency of our wholeness and remember that we've never been separate from it. And that's the downstream thoughts that will get us there. So another question is, what would it feel like if I trusted that the unseen alignment is working, even when I can't yet see the evidence of it working? So I'm going to ask you that question in particular, Carrie, because you've been here willing to speak to this and be a little bit vulnerable here, which I so appreciate. Thank you. What would it feel like if I trusted that the unseen alignment is working, even when I can't yet see the evidence of it working? Anyone can answer that if you want. And if you're sitting at home or you're sitting listening to this now, right now, or you're watching this later, I invite you to be still and feel into that. What would it feel like in here in my one instrument if I could trust that this unseen alignment that exists everywhere, it's in the fabric of everything, is actually working with me and for me, even when I can't yet see the evidence of it? How would life change if I allowed myself to rest, to soften, and to let what wants to come actually come? Carrie says powerful, calm energy. Can you imagine walking around inside your noble threshold with your container solid and allowing rest to come in and allowing your thoughts to be soft and compassionate towards yourself? Self first always, because when you give that here, I promise you it overflows into everything in your relationships. everything you're in relationship to, life, people, children, co-workers, circumstances, experiences, everything surrendered. It's funny, as I sit and work with people, a lot of people do not like the word surrender. Sometimes it feels too much. It's too much to surrender, to let go. What if we could allow? A lot of times people don't like when I say, can we let go? Can you let go of that? Or, that old way to be, or that energy of the past. And that even feels hard. So sometimes I'll say, what would it feel like to let it be? Maybe we're not letting go yet. Maybe we're just letting it be. Bless it and let it be. That's a way. That works. That's how I've done it, because let it go was like, I can't. I've tried. I'm not letting go somehow, but I can somehow bless it and let it be. Just like over here. It's okay. Alignment in my actions, saying no without explanation. Let it be. Carrie likes let it be as well. I love that too. Bless it and let it be. I have a beautiful meditation. If you ever want it, I'm going to be creating it because I have a lot of people ask. It's about blessing it and letting it be. All the things from all the directions. Like when I teach Lakota tradition in the Sweat Lodge, um, they talk about giving thanks to all the directions. And there's 7 directions. There's, east, north, wait, never eat soggy waffles, north, east, south, west, and then above, below, and within, right? These are the 7 directions. And when you pay attention and give thanks with gratitude to all of these things all around you, anything that seems in the future ahead of you, anything that's behind you in the past, anything like that's in this world, this 3-dimensional world that we live in, when it feels scary, instead of letting it go, can we bless whatever is, just let it be. And we can be right here in our noble threshold, in our container, not leaking energy, but becoming empowered as we choose loving, softer thoughts and feelings every time. I get to take the next best step with ease, even if I'm not ready to let it go. Yes, I feel you. I feel that you actually believe that. And that creates a downstream flow. Just that. You feel that release, that relief, just a little more relief. It's like the snow falling on that old pattern. You're like, where is that pattern that I used to go to in my thoughts? It can go. You bless it and let it be, and you start to create a new alignment with ease, with a little more soft, a little more relief, a little more compassion for yourself. Ah, she says, my belly softened. Yes. Pay attention to your instrument. People talk a lot about embodiment now. What does that even mean? Embodiment means being in the one instrument you've been given to feel what is coming up. That's your internal guidance system. And we cut ourselves off from it because we didn't like how it felt to feel heavy feelings. So now we're missing out on the beauty too. You can't numb out just one thing. Numbing out is numbing out. I learned that the hard way. I tried to repress and suppress all my negative fear, self-doubt, um, anger, if I'm really honest, and rage at the circumstances of my life for many, many years, not realizing the concept of numb is you don't get to pick and choose what you're numbing out. You're just numb. So you think you're actually living in accordance to, oh, I'm going to protect myself and be safe because I'm just going to numb out and not feel. And what you're doing is rowing against the current the whole time. Like, oh my gosh, no wonder I burnt out. When I finally realized that, wait a minute, not only am I numbing out sadness, grief, and pain, I'm actually numbing out love and joy and compassion for myself without even knowing it. So please, please do yourself a favor. If you can't see what you're numbing out, slow down and pay attention. If I'm really honest with myself, am I numbing out fear and grief and pain? Those are the primary emotions, even my anger, right? Which was an expression of pain. Because when you're numbing that out or believing that you are, you're actually keeping yourself contracted from feeling all the beautiful feelings that we came here to experience as well. Our emotions are the prize, the wisdom of life. When we gather our lived experience by being willing to feel and be fully human, be fully alive and here, feel it all, let it wash over you and let it go, whether it's joy or fear or grief or bliss, feel it all, be fully alive. And then the good stuff starts because you realize, oh, I'm safe to feel all of it. I'm safe to be human because I can trust that I'm going to let it come. I'm going to let it go. And then I've gathered the wisdom that I came here to gather in this journey. We didn't come here to be robots and numbed out and suffer. We came here to expand and grow into the deeper love that we already are. How do we do that? By experiencing the emotions of what we're not. That's grief. Those are the human emotions: grief, fear, pain. We came here to experience that and the other stuff because you can't experience this without this, because that's the world we live in. Okay, let's see what other questions there are. Okay, the last one is notice when you follow the stream, the downstream thoughts, how does my energy, my body, my relationships, how do they feel different? Carrie just spoke to that. Her belly softens. So she just allowed herself to go into parasympathetic rest and digest thinking. Now she's not in the upstream, like resisting and over efforting, which keeps us in our limbic systems, which are fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, people pleasing, doing anything to shape shift who we be in order to be accepted or loved or embrace, whatever that is. We all do it for all the different reasons. But can you see the difference in our bodies when we are in parasympathetic? It's wow, there's a softening. My belly softens. It is love versus fear, Carrie says. Exactly. And we get to choose. You guys, we get to choose in every now moment love, which is in the flow, which is softening in the belly. It's trusting that I can feel all the feels and not abandon myself. I'm staying right here because I know the beauty of being fully alive and human and staying and not abandoning myself. That's it. It's showing up for myself in love rather than fear every moment, every now moment. That's it. It seems so simple, but yet that's really it, you guys. The more I trust myself to stay and feel and not abandon myself and not say no when I mean yes or yes when I mean no, but be really clear in this instrument what I'm available for and what I'm not, and let my emotions guide me back downstream. That's it. So I've talked for a full hour, but I'm so glad that you guys are here with me in this and responding and thinking and feeling. And I hope anyone watching this will do the same. Like, be here, be present, listen, feel, answer the questions, be honest with yourself. How do I show up for myself? How am I not showing up for myself? How could I be a little bit better? How could I come into alignment just a little bit closer to my highest self, the frequency of love that I am? How can I get backstream in the flow towards the frequency of love? So if any of you showing up, Carrie says, showing up for myself in love is also the most loving thing I can do for all involved. Yes. Think about it. When we're in relationship with others, which, hello, I think it's kind of impossible to not be in relationship with other through this whole life. That's why we're here. Every relationship is a curriculum. There is no wrong person that we call in because it's a curriculum that is informing us and showing us where we're still not free. Everything is always guiding us back home to our truest nature. Everything is communicating and saying, hey, do you want to come closer to the frequency of your wholeness? She already exists in time, just a different dimension of time. How can you align yourself with her frequency? Think of her as your greatest cheerleader, your wholest, highest version of you, the frequency that lives on a dimension of time right now. She's cheering you on. She's like, go, keep going. We're already whole. You're just experiencing yourself as not whole because it's so good. That's your curriculum. You're in it. You're a human. You're feeling it all the feels. And yes, it's heavy. Stay downstream. Trust that you are on your way to the frequency of our wholeness, and we'll be there together. Right now, just in a different dimension. If you believe you can, you will. And the closer and closer you stay here, the closer, more closely aligned you get to be to your truest nature, which is love. So, if anyone has any questions or wants any support, if there's any challenge or roadblock, something in your life that you're feeling like you're just rowing upstream and you're like, holy heck, I can't, I'm so tired. I'm just so tired. I hope that something I said today can get you a little bit closer to downstream thinking, downstream thoughts, downstream flow. Because when you're in the flow, you're like, everything seems synchronistic. Opportunities, phone calls, certain messages, animals flying over that have a message for you. If you see animals, I know this sounds so weird, but when I first started kind of leaning into the Lakota, Native American traditions, they talk a lot about the animal medicine. They call it animal medicine because it's so beautiful. Just be aware of any animals, birds, insects, anything that crosses your path, whether it's outside or in a movie or in a dream or somewhere you're seeing it, like in an ad somewhere. Pay attention and notice when it hits you, you're like, oh, there's an animal that's got my attention. If you don't get a feeling about it or feel into it, like, what could this mean for me right now in my life? Because the universe is always communicating with us in the cleverest of ways if we have eyes to see and ears to hear and an instrument to feel. Look it up on Google. Ask Google, what is the spiritual meaning of this? Oh, I have a grasshopper that lives out here in the grass in this new place I moved to. And I cannot tell you why, but it keeps showing up. I'll like turn and then I laugh because I'm like, oh my gosh, there you are. It doesn't ever come inside. Every time I go outside to like either mow or get in my car or change, like put something in the garbage can, I noticed this little guy. And I looked it up, and grasshoppers are what are they indicative of? Of like new growth. And I'm going to look it up right now because I want to tell you. Um, and I invite you to look up the spiritual meaning of different insects or animals or things that come up because they do carry a message. And if you are willing to be soft enough to be like, that's interesting, that's got my attention. Spiritual meaning of grasshopper. He's so cute. I don't know if it's male or female. Ah, okay. Spiritual meanings of adaptability and resilience, grounding, because it's on the ground. It's got its stomach on the ground, right? And stability. Um, a brown grasshopper, which this is is specifically represent the call to stay connected to one's roots and find stability in life. And for me, this is really beautiful because I just moved and there's a lot of upheaval in my life. Things are changing in my business, and there has been a lot of instability, and I should be really scared, right? I should be like, wait, there's too much change. But because of the things that I have leaned into and that I trust, I realize, oh no, there's nothing to fear. Everything's being reorganized for my highest good and all that are involved, always. And because I believe that so deeply, I'm getting grasshoppers in my yard that keep sending me the message, keep trusting. Abundance is right here. Keep going. Stay in the downstream thoughts. Don't judge anything. Let it come. Let it inform you and trust that you're always being guided. I love that message. So pay attention to the messages that are always coming in. Even if they're uncomfortable, they're there to teach you, to guide you. Okay, Carrie says, she saw a dragonfly on a walk in a place I hadn't planned on being yesterday. Okay, I think you may know the message of, if you don't, okay, the spiritual meaning of a dragonfly centers on transformation, change, and new beginnings, reflecting its life cycle from water nymph. So, if you know the story of the dragonfly, it is really quite amazing. And I hadn't known this until like a year or so ago, that it starts out as this water nymph that's like this gross little thing in the water for a long, long time. I forget how many months or years it's there as this like sub insect thing. It's weird. It's like a water nymph. And then it becomes a winged adult. And it symbolizes adaptability, wisdom, self realization, going from being underwater to coming out and flying out, right? And living its best life and seeing beyond the illusions. That's such a good metaphor because, yeah, it's so appropriate for you right now. I feel you, Carrie. Um, the illusions that we have in this life are plentiful, right? The illusions that we carry are like those paths that are in the snow without us even knowing they're there because they're in our subconscious. But our subconscious controls 95% of how we respond, how we think, what we believe. And if we aren't aware of that, it's literally keeping us like a water nymph underwater. And we're not going to get our wings if we stay like the dragonfly before it realizes I can climb out of this water and my wings are going to grow. And then I get to be this beautiful creature flying around, showing Carrie these messages. Like, really, that's what we're doing when we're staying stuck and not realizing that the illusion that we aren't enough or that we're separate from all that is, or that we're not safe. We don't feel safe, so therefore the world isn't safe. Like, is that true? That when you were young, yes, you probably did feel unsafe lots of times because our parents they're human. They aren't perfect. They don't know how to show up for us all the time. And yeah, we come to feel unsafe in this world. But that's why we're here, is to experience that very experience of feeling unsafe or not enough or incapable or unworthy of all the things that want to us to flow into them so we can experience what it feels like to not feel whole or to feel separate from. We came here to experience that as humans. So perfect. We're doing it perfectly when we forget. You're right where you should be. You are literally can't make a mistake in your forgetting because there is no time. At some point, you're going to realize, oh, I'm living like the water nymph. I'm living underwater. I'm not aware that my thoughts are guiding my reality. If I don't like my reality, that's good news. I can change that. I get to be a winged adult. I get to fly out like the dragonfly out of this watery self doubt and fear. And I climb up a little leaf or a weed or some water plant, and I am going to get my wings. And I'm going to see from a different perspective, clearly, not underwater, but clearly that I get to choose my reality. by my thoughts, by my love for me, and it changes everything. So, okay. If nobody else has something to ask or shift or change or work on, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being here, for listening. I am so grateful for this space and for the energy of you just being here. I get so excited about the idea that people want to fly. They want to become the dragonfly. Really, that's why we're here. The butterfly, the dragonfly, all the metaphors in this life for stepping into our wholeness and remembering the frequency of our wholeness is love. And we're really not separate from it. That's the illusion. And we came here to live in the illusion so we can remember. So thank you for being on this path of remembering, because it's the path, it's the way, it's the hero's journey, it's archetypal, it lives in, it's not just personal, it's collective, and every one of us has our own path. There are as many paths as there are people. So I can't look sideways and be like, well, wait, look at them. They're so far ahead on their path. No, that's the illusion of time and space, which are just illusions in this realm that we're in. No one's ahead, no one's behind. We are already whole. We're just here to experience our unwholeness. We came here to forget so we can remember and return to that wholeness a little more evolved, a little more grown. Oh, I was going to say the thing that I loved that my teacher taught me, this noble threshold. When you have something that's scary and you fear and you doubt and you're in your thoughts going upstream, can you go to the edge of your fear, the edge of your grief? Like get there, sit there, and soften just a little more around the edges of it. Because when you can do that, you're more likely to be able to sit and stay with it, and then it goes. Just soften a little bit. When you contract, like which what we do, that's the normal human thing, is like to contract and think, oh my gosh, I can't, I'm just going to sit like this until it goes away, which is upstream. Right? It's not easy to do this. It actually is submission rather than surrender or allowing, and you will break. You can't, it's not sustainable. So when you do, actually, I don't even know if I'd like to do this because that scares people. When I do that with clients, they're like, oh, don't do that, I don't like that. So what if it's this? What if it's this instead of this or this? This is allowing. This is trusting. It's like sending up a signal. I, from my heart, believe in all that is to keep working behind the scenes for me, with me, for all the good of all, not just me, for all. And as you do that, it really sends out a ripple. We're always sending out a ripple. Are you aware of your energy that sends out a ripple for good or bad? It's always sending out. When you do this, you're sending out a ripple that's going to change your life for the better. I promise. Okay. I love you. I believe in you. And I will see you next time, which is going to be, I don't have my, I should have done this before, huh? I should have said, oh, our next meeting is going to be literally going to be Friday, November 7th. Okay. I will see you here. If you ever want to reach out to me, I'm creating new offerings and new courses, and I'm doing it in a new way. So it's taking me longer than I thought, but I'm just right perfectly where I'm supposed to be. I'm not stressed about it. I trust that all of this is going to bring more ease into other people's lives as I prepare it with intention to do so. Brooke, thank you. Thank you so much. Today's visual imagery of flowing downstream speaks to me. It speaks to me too. That's why I spoke to it today. I'm like, what a beautiful metaphor of floating down the river of life rather than trying to effort going up, 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 and just finally, because at a certain point, we all get to the point where we can't. We just can't. You just have to say, I allow things to be as they are, and I trust myself to stay and feel all the feelings about what is and let them be. I'm just going to bless it and let it be. And here I go. Downstream, trusting. Do you remember? Um, what's the movie? It's the Pocahontas. I loved the song as my kids were watching it, and I was watching it with them back in the day. Just around the river bend. There's a saying that she said in it that I could never get out of my head. And she says, "Oh, great, what does she say? Great giver. I trust that just around the river bend is what is waiting for me is mine." And I love that. I'm probably butchered it. It's not exact, but it's like unto that, that she trusts that as she goes around the river bend, there it is, the very thing that she's been waiting for and wanting because she knows that it's already there. That's her power, the power of love, the power of believing in something greater than yourself, that you're not separate from it. You are that great thing. And you're always bringing yourself to something better, in alignment with all that is. Okay. I love you. This is it. I promise. Okay. Ciao for now. Thanks for being here. So much love.